Everybody, here for another Volume 1 Very Difficult Ambuscade, this time in regards to Lamia. This month is very difficult on your tanks and healers, so please be nice to them. For this strategy, we used a Core, Puppet Master, Ranger, Bard, Red Mage, and Paladin. We utilized this method to show a safer and easier way to do this month's ambuscade without putting too much pressure on everyone to worry about the mechanics. Let's get started with this strategy. After all the buffs are up, including Bar Stone and Bar Petrify, the Paladin would go in and flash the Scathy. The pup would be following right behind the Paladin to put their automaton on Frigg. Once the automaton has hate on Frigg, they return their puppet to run Frigg into another corner as to avoid the tank from pulling hate off this particular Lamia. We'll go over the reason why later on in this video. Once the tank is set up in the corner, the ranged DPS can start dealing damage to Freyja. Unlike previous iterations of this ambuscade, if you deal too much damage and pull hate on Freyja, she will use a draw-in move and pull everyone in, including the Puppet Master that's on the other side. Also, when the main target of each Lamia is not facing them over 4 seconds, they will gain an aura that will increase their damage until you start facing them again for over 4 seconds. This can be tricky with whoever is tanking them, as you are constantly turning and not turning based off of the two Lamias. Freyja can use notable moves like Calcify and Deluge, which does minor damage and can potentially petrify if it lands. She'll also use Petrifying Dance, which terrorizes and does a hate reset while facing Freyja. Scathy can also use these notable moves while being tanked. Venomous Dance, which causes a 300 per tick poison and petrify when facing her, and Heavenly Rain, which is a hate reset and damaged based off of percentage if looking at Scathy. Some standard moves that both Freyja and Scathy can use is Impaling Disregard, which petrifies and does a 5-second doom when facing away from either Freyja or Scathy, depending on who is using it. Petrification, which applies petrify when facing the certain Lamia. Shadow Thrust, which is a single target damage, and Eagle Eye Shot. They can use Eagle Eye Shot one after another, which can deal significant damage depending on who is tanking. Again, when fighting these two, it can be difficult on the tank to utilize hate tools during the constant turning and facing when holding these two mobs. When they do not have their auras up though, they are not difficult to hold, as neither Freyja or Scathy hit very hard. As you can see here, our tank does lose hate for a little bit, while Myrrh and I continue to kite and kill Freyja. Our red mage is holding Scathy until the terrorize on our paladin has worn off. Your Puppet Master can help with removing debuffs, as they're not really doing much else while holding Frigg. This can help when your healer doesn't have a way to remove multiple debuffs on multiple party members. This can include the Poison and Stone from the Venomous Dance from Scathy. Once these two are dead, you can move over to Frigg. Doing this ranged method of this fight, it does make it really easy, as you can avoid most of the mechanics for her. Also, by this point, the automaton should have built up enough hate that your range classes can go all out and not pull it off of your auto. But to note some of Frigg's abilities, she can use Chastising Disregard, which, as again, since we were using a pup tank on this, I don't know if it's changed from its previous iterations. It can also use Rax Baladi, which is a charm and burn if you are facing Frigg. Frigg also does have End Petrify, which does proc at a lower rate than it used to, where it was at 20% previously and now is only at 5%. While this might not be the fastest clear, it took us about 9 minutes to do this fight while dual boxing. It is a pretty safe method for other people to use without the need of 2 hours. You can change this setup again by using a Rune Fencer instead of us using a Paladin here, or potentially a White Mage or Scholar for your healers instead of us using a Red Mage. And lastly, we used a Bard instead of a Geo, but again, you could switch those as well. Just as of note, our Red Mage did indicate that it was very difficult to debuff Freyja, but Scathy and Frigg were really easy to be debuffed later on in this fight. I hope this helps you out get your clears for this month's ambuscade.